Hey guys, welcome back. So today I thought we'd do a video on the Bendix style fuel pumps. I have a couple of brand new replicas which work pretty good. In front of me here I have a restored cosmetically original. This is the one that came off the car, and in this video we're going to take this one apart and restore it and take a look at all the internals and what makes this one go. And then also I have a newer modern style fuel pump that's basically the same in flow rate and PSI, comparable to these fuel pumps. So this could be an option also. It's something I'm running on the car at the moment while I'm breaking it in and sorting things out. So in this video, we're just basically going to open this one up, restore it, come back, compare everything, and then take a look at the data sheets and see exactly what the differences are, and also cosmetically. And then also recently, I was invited to a local Porsche podcast. I have some friends here in town that have recently started a new YouTube channel. So I'm going to put a link to that channel and in that video down below. Did a podcast with Mike's Restoration. So if you would like to learn a little bit more about what we do here and what's coming down the road in 2024, check out that podcast. It's a lot of fun, and the guys are super cool. So let's go ahead now and open this one up and take a look at that clip and see exactly how this one works, restore it, and then come back here. We'll compare everything, and I'll tell you what my plan is and why we have restored this cosmetically. Okay, let's have a look at our Bendix original pump that I pulled off the car before we try to restore this thing and do something with it. So I don't know that I can do anything with this to get it to refunction again, but what I want to try to do with this process here is just recondition it, bring it back to a new like condition. Let's say there's a miracle, I can actually get the internal system working again, then we'll go ahead and use this. But if we can't, then what the plan is to take this apart, gut it, reseal it back up, and just use it as a loop. So I'm just passing fuel through it, so that cosmetically, when you look in the engine compartment, the car looks and shows as it would have been originally, but we're just bypassing this to an actual more modern fuel pump for more accurate and precise fuel delivery. So I'm going to soak this in gasoline for a couple hours, and the idea of the gasoline is to get down into all the cavities inside and try to release anything that might be frozen or decayed inside, which is keeping everything together. So let me get this soaking first. I'll try and get it apart, and then we'll have a look inside. Okay, so there we are, soaking ever so carefully in our gasoline. And when working with gasoline, definitely no smoking around this area. Very, very sensitive. It evaporates quickly, so disposal really isn't going to be a problem when you're working with it. Just got to be safe, out of the sun, keep temperatures cool, and no flammables. These have already been cleaned up, so these are banjo bolts, and you can see with the color going on there after we're cleaned, that would have been a yellow type finish on there as opposed to silver. Gasoline will really get to the truth of that without disturbing the chromates. But anyways, we've got a yellow chromate finish on there. This one here has no finish, so I don't know how much of this is original to the car or something that came later, but we're going to go ahead and finish the fittings and the banjos in a yellow, and we're going to finish the fuel pump in a silver. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours, and I've drained everything out, and pretty well everything's evaporated. A nice little souvenir here that just kind of fell off. Let's go ahead and soak this guy up now with some KB88. Get the inside flooded. Okay, so we're clamped down here, and so the KB88 really works best to just spray it down, let it penetrate, and then go at it fairly quickly. If you let it set too long, it's like gasoline, it just evaporates and then loses everything you need there. Look at that. This comes right off. A magnet. very hard rubber seal. Okay. Not too far different than our modern replicas. Nice little filter there. Okay, so this first guy here just looks like nothing more than a fancy retainer clip. Okay, so not having much success with that, looks like a seal back there, but while fooling around with it, this guy popped off. So it's got an O-ring that sits on here, like so. This actually seems to be working pretty good. There it goes. Definitely got some wear on it. Okay. Well, that looks like some kind of a rubber seal that's cured over the last 50 years to a solid seal, just to seal up our gasket on this end. And on this end, this would seal this side, so the fuel would just travel around here and go in. But that's not going to work. Well, based on the conditions of everything I'm looking at here, pretty worn piston. I'm pretty sure the inside of this cylinder is going to be in the same condition this is. So based on this, we're going to make this just a pass-through cosmetic pump. This looks like it's just crimped on here. I'll see if I can uncrimp that wire, and then we can refinish the body. Looks pretty good. So far, so good. That's going to work. Okay, so it's been about 2 weeks since we did our plating process. I don't see anything there that we need to worry about, so let's go ahead and get this guy unhooked from here. Okay, I think that's going to look real nice. And then let's just slide our cap on the bottom there. This will just be for centering our decal. Here's our new replica decal. Alright, that looks like that's going to clear. And then we would have 2 copper crush washers for our banjo fittings, but I've only got 1, so temporarily we'd have another one in there. And then our electrical plug-in, all I did here was just basically refinish that. We'll have to press that back on there and crimp it down. But that's basically going to be our finished look. And for this pump, this really is the correct color, although they did vary from year to year. For this one that came off of this car, that would be correct. Okay, so first let's take a look at our modern fuel pump here. A real inexpensive option to the Bendix style fuel pumps. If you don't run something like this, this really is not a bad idea to have in your toolbox or your tool bag in your car. Less than $20. It has an anti-backflow valve. The data sheet on this guy specs out almost exactly what our new modern replicas are. So we have 5/16 outlets. Flow rate is 30 gallons per hour, 110 liters per hour, and 2.5 to 4 psi on pressure. And I have a gauge hooked up to it that I've been running and checking, and consistently this pump here is running right around 3 to 3.5 pounds of pressure on my Weber carburetors, and I've had no issues with this at all. Anti-backflow valve and real positive flow rate out of this guy. And if you just needed a pump that was inexpensive for an emergency, this would definitely be a very good option. And then for our aftermarket Bendix style fuel pumps, I sourced both of these from Hart Classic Parts in Australia. Peter Hart is the owner, and a real positive response to work with, especially under a pressure situation. I was just really pulling my hair out trying to figure out what was going wrong. During the video that we made trying to get the car started, I thought it might have been this pinch seal on this O-ring here. But he sent me out a new cap, the diaphragm in there, and a new seal. And I did manage to get this pump working to get the car started again. It did start. It did run through break-in. It's a miracle it ran through the entire break-in process, and not because of the fuel pump, because of the real problem with fuel delivery, which we're going to talk about in another video. It turned out being the fuel tank. But anyhow, that's another video down the road. But the strain on this fuel pump during that process, trying to pull fuel up from the tank, I just burned it out. And I burned it out twice. So I managed to get it put back together, working again. And then after I shut it off and tried to pull fuel again, I just burned it up a second time. So I did order another one, and we used this one here. And then without realizing what the problem was, I burned this one up too. So there's a good $400 in fuel pumps there that weren't going to work for us. So that's why I went to this guy just for testing purposes. But it actually is turning out to be quite a very good fuel pump. And if we used it to look like a fuel filter, I think we might be able to work this in with the original Bendix style to get a cosmetically right look in the engine compartment, but have a more modern style fuel pump if you choose to do something like this. And then also on Peter's website, he breaks down the pump, so you can get these with the fuel leads and connections, or without. They're less expensive without. But he's got a couple of different ones that look like that's available. 912, 911, PSI in this one, 2.75 to 4 pounds. So very close to our modern equivalent. And then he has a different one here, considerably more expensive, but this one comes with the fuel lines and connections, but it specs a little bit different, 3 to 5 PSI, and it's spec'd out for the 901, T and S, 912, 3 to 5 PSI on that one. So these guys will work, and I'm sure they're going to be just fine as long as you don't have fuel delivery problems from your fuel tank. And then our original here restored. The reason I wanted to restore this is just a long shot. What I plan on doing is installing this onto the control board in the engine compartment. We're going to bring fuel in to here. We're going to gut this. Right? We'll put a seal on the bottom. I can't use the seals out of the new replica because it's just a little bit small, so I'll have to find a seal that will actually fit and seal that bottom in there. But anyhow, if we can get that sealed up, theoretically, once this is pressurized, if we don't have any leaks, we can just run fuel through this and bypass this. So cosmetically, it just looks like what should be on there. It's correct finish, correct everything, except it's just cosmetically a dummy. And then what I plan on doing then is once we route it from here, is to take a downline. So the fuel is going from here to the fuel pump, either be this one or one similar to this one, into a fuel filter and then into the carburetors. So I haven't set that up yet. I'm still doing testing on this guy, and I'll let you know down the road how that works out. So that's why we have done this cosmetically. If I have any failure here, my guess is going to be under this cap here. I'm assuming there's some kind of a rubber seal in there or a phenolic seal that's been crimped on, and of course it's old. It's over 50 years old now. So during the process of refinishing and just the age of it, will it actually seal once it's full of fuel and under pressure? If it starts bleeding out, then we're going to have to go to plan C. That's not going to work. We could take one of these, and I could gut this and do the same thing. I know this one will seal, but I would really prefer to have the original on there just because everything looks more correct. But I will let you know on how that works out down the road. And then cosmetically, the new one versus the original, really pretty close. Color, the colors varied on these anyways. The one on my left here, the original, this is really the right color that came off the car, and that's the way it should be. But you can see the top here, a little bit different. This is stamped Oben, which probably means top. And then you can see the mounting brackets there. Got some stamping in there. A little bit different than the aftermarket. And then, you know, the fittings on the outside would be a little bit different. But really not bad as far as visually to look at. And then, of course, the bottoms here. This is where it would really show quite a bit of difference from the original on my left here to the aftermarket style on the right. So if we can keep this and get this all intact, put it in the car and make it look right and run a modern fuel pump, for me, I would rather do that. So there's some basic differences between our modern and our Bendix style fuel pumps. These guys here, absolutely nothing wrong with these at all. They work really well as long as you don't have a restriction. And probably if I did have a restriction and I put this guy up, I'd probably burn this one up too. It's just that I'm into this for $400 of fuel pumps now. If I have my druthers, I would really rather have the original look on there and go to something like this. Okay, so I think that's going to cover it here today for the differences between the original and the aftermarket replicas and a modern equivalent as far as PSI and flow rate. Hopefully there was something in this video that will be helpful for you. And if you need a replica fuel pump for your early 911, 912, 356, please be sure to reach out to Peter. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.